also known as fuel. The Customs Area Controller in charge of the command, Salisu Abdullahi, stated these over the weekend while briefing journalists on the command's activities in May. He said that during the period under review, the command confiscated 14,980 liters of premium motor spirit packed in drums and jerry cans and recorded 16 seizures of different contraband. Moving now to the judiciary, where the Court of Appeal Abuja Division has reinstated the former Director General, National Intelligence Agency (NIA), Mohammed Dauda. Delivering judgment, Justice Peter Ige said the evidence leading to the dismissal of Dauda was frivolous and lacking in merit. The judge also resolved all the contentious issues against NIA in favor of Dauda, who is a respondent in the suit. He further ordered that his salaries and entitlements since the day of dismissal from office be paid. The appellate court also gave an order that a sum of 1 million naira be paid to Dauda. Justice Ige further held that Dauda should be allowed to retire in service in accordance with the stipulated laws. Recall that Dauda had earlier acted as the head of the agency from November 2017 to January 2018 when he was replaced by former President Muhammadu Buhari. Dissatisfied, he challenged his removal in court, saying his dismissal from service did not follow due process and was wrongful. To electoral matters now, where the presidential election petition scored within the week admitted certificate copies of academic and work records of President Bola Tinubu tendered by the People's Democratic Party and its candidate Atiku Abubakar, reading different names that he registered with the Independent National Electoral Commission. The documents which were tendered within the week include a BSc certificate from Chicago State University, an NYSC discharge certificate, and a Mobile Nigeria Oil PLC certificate of service. The PDP had brought the documents through their subpoenaed witness, Mike Enahoro Eba, Esquire, who noted that the documents were purportedly obtained by Tinubu but bore the name of Bola Adekunle Tinubu. Led in evidence by PDP counsel Chris Oche, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, the witness also tendered forms EC13 and EC9 nomination forms and the latest written to INEC as attachments. In a related development, the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC says it will hold a post-elections review for the just concluded 2023 polls from July 4th to August 5th, 2023. In a statement by the Commission's spokesman Festus Okoye, the electoral umpire said the review will commence with a meeting of the resident electoral commissioners (RECs) and end with the Commission's retreat. Reports say the Commission has been holding these review meetings after every general election since 2011. According to the electoral umpire, the review will focus on all aspects of the electoral activities before, during and after the elections. Recall that the presidential election was conducted on February 25, 2023, and INEC declared the All Progressives Congress APC candidate Bola Tinubu as the winner of the poll, but the two main challengers, Peter Obi of the Labour Party and Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, are presently in court to challenge the declaration by INEC, alleging various electoral malpractices, the supposed inefficiency of the bimodal voter accreditation system (BVAS) and INEC result viewing portal (IREV), as well as insisting that the poll was not free and fair. Meanwhile, INEC said it will review the lessons from the general elections and chart a way forward. In another development, the new Chief of Army Staff, Major General Tarid Lagbaja, within the week assumed command of the Nigerian Army as the 23rd Army Chief, with pledge to discharge responsibilities with fairness. Lagbaja took the baton from the 22nd Chief General Farouk Yahaya, who had been in command since May 2021. The new Army Chief said the Nigerian Army had in the past 25 months witnessed milestone transformation under his predecessor, General Yahaya. This, he said, included unprecedented procurement of equipment and prudent management of human and material resources, which Nigeria had begun to reap the dividends. Lagbaja thanked the former Chief of Army Staff for mentorship and empowering his military career. Meanwhile, the newly appointed Chief of Army Staff Major General Torid Lagbaja on Saturday approved the posting and appointment of some senior officers of the Nigerian Army to command, instructional and staff appointments across formations and units. These, according to him, will reposition the Nigerian Army for operational efficiency and functional administration. The Chief of Army Staff also directed all newly appointed senior officers to redouble their effort and commitment to duty in ensuring the sustenance of the ongoing onslaught against terrorism, insurgency, and other threats to national security. In a separate development, the Inspector General of Police IGP Olukayode Egbetokun has appointed Commissioner of Police Tunji Disu as his principal staff officer. Egbetokun announced Disu's appointment while unveiling the new policing strategies for the Nigerian police force. The IGP published a new strategy aimed at achieving operational successes and reignited public trust during the inaugural conference with strategic police managers comprising members of the force management team, Assistant Inspectors General of Police, Commissioners of Police, and other heads of police formations in the country at the force headquarters in Abuja. A statement by the force spokesman Olumuyiwa Adejobi said IGP also appointed CSP Ganiyu Adebowale as personal assistant, while SP Adewale Ajibowa was appointed Chief Protocol Officer. DSP Sharif Lawal appointed as aide-de-camp, and DSP Olawole Ogunwusi as Chief Security Officer CSO to the IGP. Away from that, the Central Bank of Nigeria has ordered banks and other financial institutions in the country to regularly screen accounts of politically exposed persons. It stated these in its circular to banks and other financial institutions on Friday on guidance notes on particularly politically exposed persons, PEP, signed by the Director, Financial Policy and Regulation Department, Chibuzo Efobi. A circular stated that PEP accounts should be subject to periodic reviews as may be determined by the financial institution in line with risk assessment and documented appropriately. The CBN explained domestic PEPs to be those entrusted with prominent public positions in Nigeria, while those entrusted with prominent public positions in any other foreign jurisdictions were foreign PEPs, noting that in view of the corruption level in Nigeria, domestic PEPs were rated highly vulnerable to financial risk. We move to education now, where the Registrar of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, Professor Ishaq Oloyede, has said that the Vice Chancellors of Nigerian universities have agreed on 140 as the minimum benchmark for admission for the 2023-2024 academic session. Olojede, who said that universities has also been allowed to decide individual cut-off marks for their candidates, made this known during the 2023 policy meeting in Abuja. And while the Permanent Secretary in the Federal Ministry of Education, Andrew Adejo, said most of the universities have agreed and the decision stands that 140 is the minimum benchmark for university admissions. We move to Borno State, where Governor Babagana Zulum has expressed shock and sadness over the killing of 8 farmers in Mafa local government area of Borno State by the Islamic State of the West African province ISWAP. Reports say the killing occurred in Shuwarin, Tumsu, Gandu, Baram, Kuruwa, and Muna on Thursday at about 1 p.m. while the farmers were working on their farms. Zulum, who visited Mafa, described the attack as unfortunate and said the state government would partner with security agencies to deploy more soldiers to secure farmlands. Elsewhere, Governor Abu Kefes of Taraba State has urged monarchs to collaborate with his administration to arrest insecurity in the state. The state has been battling issues of banditry, kidnapping, communal clashes, and farmer-heather clashes. According to reports, Kefes engaged the traditional rulers in a roundtable in Jalingo within the course of the week. The state capital, He said the meeting became necessary due to happenings in the state more than his demands. He admonished the monarchs to tread extra legitimate miles to curb illegal mining activities in their various domains. In many parts of the country, he expressed sadness that the state has been grappling with a surge of insecurity. Mbaki Akwa State Governor Pastor Omoino within the week flagged off the construction of internal roads in and around Akpananda Market with drainages and solar lightings. He also announced Tabernacle Road as the next road to be flagged off for construction within his 100 days in office. According to him, the flag off is to fulfill the promise he made to the Akpananda Market people during his campaign rally a few months ago. Earlier, the construction company in charge of the project had assured that it will be completed and delivered in 70 days.
Flag of Usami. Meto campaign. Chairman Udwa Kebi Sahabo Usami for no. Yambere Kana Usong Simani for. And I promise you people that Kemaisum were no. Kekbausong on the tone, the on the rules on me. So, framing, get ready if fulfill promise. Let us flag off this. And then the chairman who are at Mempofen, after saying Tangado approved. Already, in my session, the global MDN at that time, my son drainage. Then Kesuruado, here now about 200 meters. And when Musongesrudwa. Between now and 29th of March, we'll flag off Tabernacle Road. I understand Kuson Road area Kuyo. On that Tabernacle Road. So we are going there to flag off that road.
In the meantime, students of the University of Uyo, Akwa Ibom State have called on the federal government to review the requirements of the Students' Loan Bill, which was signed into law by President Bola Tinubu. Speaking with Spectrum Television, they disagreed with the student loan scheme, noting that it will increase the hardship of Nigerian students rather than subsidize education for the poor. A student added that to subsidize education, government should increase the numbers of scholarships, give grants and provide more free skill acquisition for the students.
A situation whereby you have given each of these students the loans. Okay, I heard about after 2 years of graduation, you need to pay back the loans. Where do you expect these students to get the money and pay to them when you are not working? Most of them, like my uncle, is out of school, and I can't really see the product of what he went to school for. So in a situation like that, let's take for instance, they gave my uncle that student loan, and he comes out and he's now looking for money to pay back the government. Is a problem, and also might be a problem to the society.
Though I read the little information about it, not satisfied because of the requirement I saw. It is something that is going to be very, very tedious for an ordinary person to get. We all know Nigeria, how things are, connections and all of that. If I want to say it should be approved as a student, I also want to know how much are we going to pay, because currently now the university system is changing. What I paid when I started in 100 level is not what this current 100 level are paying. It is about 2 times higher now. So if this student loan is being implemented, how much will the university ask the students to?
The criteria involved is just too much for us. I mean, if I'm saying this for most of Nigerian students. We really do not have people in the sector, like the directors and lawyers that they are requiring of us. So imagine my parents do not have to earn more than 500,000 naira in a year for me to be able to access the loan. That's more like saying a common Nigerian cannot get that loan. So it's better.
Meanwhile, a medical microbiologist in the University of Uyo Teaching Hospital, UUTH, Dr. Agatem Ekuma, has called on residents of Uyo and Nigerians to always check their hepatitis status and get vaccinated at least 3 times in 10 years. A medical practitioner who described hepatitis as an inflammation of the liver noted that hepatitis B and C lead to chronic diseases in hundreds of millions of people and together are the most common cause of liver failure, liver cancer, and viral hepatitis-related deaths. Ikuma, while disclosing that hepatitis B vaccination is for all age grades, said there is no vaccine for hepatitis C. He added that hepatitis is transmitted through body fluids and to prevent hepatitis C is by avoiding behaviors that can spread the disease.
And most of the common causes are caused by viruses. So basically, hepatitis is infection of the liver and the symptoms that are associated with it. So we have hepatitis A, hepatitis virus. So hepatitis D can occur together with hepatitis B, but it's not so common around here. Hepatitis E too, it's not very common, but it's a milder form, just like hepatitis A. So those ones are associated with food. But for hepatitis B, there is also an effective vaccine that is available, and it's now often a part of our immunization schedule. So I think that is bringing down the prevalence of hepatitis B nowadays, especially among the younger ones. We are seeing it.
And still to come. Energy Information Administration says disruptions threatening Nigeria's oil production. Just stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. We'll move on to the rest of our news stories. We move to Africa now, where vote counting began in Sierra Leone on Saturday following a mostly peaceful general election, despite a late start in some polling stations as the opposition denounced alleged irregularities. President Julius Maada Bio is seeking a second term amid a crippling cost of living crisis that sparked deadly riots last year. Reports say 12 men and 1 woman are vying for the top job, though Bio's main challenger is a Samara Kamara of the All People's Congress, APC. Meanwhile, Tunisia's state prosecutor on Friday appealed against a judge's decision to release opposition figure Chima Issa 4 months after she was detained for plotting against the state. According to her lawyer, Issa would have walked free following a decision taken by the Counter-Terrorism Court, but the prosecution appealed against it. Recall that a member of Tunisia's main opposition coalition, the National Salvation Front (NSF), was arrested along with some 20 other opposition members, media and business figures in February. Meanwhile, the United Nations has urged Tunisian authorities to end a crackdown on the media and free speech. This comes a few days after a prominent Tunisian journalist was arrested on charges of insulting President Kais Saied. A judge ordered the detention of Zayed El Hani ahead of a trial in which he could be sentenced to 5 years in prison. In a statement, UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk described the situation as troubling. Recall that President Saied has previously defended his administration by saying he wants to save the North African nation from chaos. However, critics have accused him of staging a coup after he suspended the National Assembly in 2021, passed a new constitution, and moved to rule by decree.
major setbacks on legal protection for sexual and reproductive health and rights, including on access to safe abortion. Hate speech and violence against lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and intersex women are on the rise. The teaching of comprehensive sexuality education.
Still in Africa, Kenya's President William Ruto has asked the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund (IMF) to reduce stringent measures on loans granted to African countries to ensure fair access of resources. Ruto, who spoke when he met with French President Emmanuel Macron, IMF chief Kristalina Georgieva, and World Bank Group President Ajay Banga in Paris, urged world leaders attending the new Global Financial Pact Summit to support his call. According to reports, Ruto's administration received $600 million from the IMF in the autumn and winter of 2022. It also got $993 million from the World Bank in May to help the government fund the budget. Meanwhile, most African countries struggle with foreign debts due to ballooning inflation and increased borrowing. Meanwhile, Mali's military-led government has seized the diplomatic passport of influential and outspoken Muslim cleric Mahmoud Dicko, who is a vocal critic of the ruling junta. Community-based station Radio Nostalgic reported that the authorities seized Dicko's passport at an airport in the capital, Bamako, upon his return from neighboring Mauritania. Dicko was issued with the passport by the government of the late President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta in May. Dicko and several Islamic groups launched an anti-secularism movement to oppose plans to designate the country as a secular state as envisioned in a draft constitution. Dicko also played a leading role in the protest movement that led to Keïta's downfall in 2020. Zambia has reached a deal to restructure more than $6 billion of debt owed to other governments. The Zambia President Hakainde Hichilema said that the agreement marked a significant milestone in the journey towards economic recovery, noting that work is needed to continue on a separate deal with private creditors. Reports say Zambia was the first country to default on its debt during the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, the authorities in Libya have detained 50 Chinese nationals following a raid on an illegal cryptocurrency operation. Photo published by the Tripoli prosecutor showed large windowless rooms crammed with hardware and computers in the city of Zlatan. According to reports on Wednesday, 10 other Chinese people were taken into custody for crypto mining in the port city of Misrata. Recall that Libya banned the manufacturing of virtual currency in 2021. Elsewhere, a group of protesters within the week attempted to storm Ghana's parliament as they demanded the removal of tax on sanitary parts. Security officers stopped the protesters, who were clad in red and holding placards, and made them to gather at the entrance of parliament. The group said the government should remove the 20% import tax and 12.5% value-added tax on sanitary parts, which have made them too expensive for many people. The high cost of sanitary parts, according to the campaigners, is causing absenteeism among girls in schools and hygiene issues for the rural poor. However, the Association of Ghana Industries (AGI) has warned their government not to scrap the import taxes. Still in Africa, South Africa authorities say they have been notified of the death of at least 31 suspected illegal miners believed to be from Lesotho at a disused mine in Free State. South Africa's Department of Mineral Resources said in a statement that it was informed by the Lesotho government about the deaths in a 9-ventilation shaft. The department said it has also been made aware that 3 bodies have been retrieved from the mine by other illegal miners. It said it is doing its utmost best to act on the information and has been working with all relevant stakeholders, including previous owners of the mine, to retrieve the bodies. Reports say the mine in Welcome, Free State, was last operational in the 1990s. Meanwhile, the Ugandan government has announced plans to increase the legal age for consuming alcohol from 18 to 21. The World Health Statistics 2023 report ranks Uganda among the leading countries for high rates of alcohol consumption. According to the WHO report, it is estimated that Ugandans currently consume 12.2 liters of alcohol per person annually, which is significantly higher than the global average. She said that Parliament will discuss the age limit among other measures in the soon-to-be-presented alcohol control bill. On a foreign scene, 5 passengers on board the missing Titan submersible have been confirmed dead by the U.S. Coast Guard. Reports say they found parts of the vessel amidst debris near the wreckage of the Titanic, noting that the debris was consistent with the catastrophic implosion of the vessel. According to reports, the CEO of the submersible company, a British billionaire explorer, a French driver, and a father and son were all on board. Meanwhile, Maguire said he could not confirm whether their bodies would be recovered because of the incredibly unforgiving environment of the ocean.
Location of the search is approximately 900 miles east of Cape Cod in a water depth of roughly 13,000 feet. It is a remote area and it is a challenge to conduct a search in that remote area. We understand from the operator of the vessel that the vessel was designed with a 96-hour sustainment capability if there was an emergency on board.
In UK, a man who shot and killed a custody sergeant at a South London police station is facing life imprisonment after he was found guilty of murder. Louis de Souza, 25, was convicted by a jury at Northampton Crown Court in Central England of murdering 54-year-old Metropolitan Police Officer Miles Ratana in the early hours of September 25, 2020. Reports say Matt is the first police officer shot dead in the line of duty in Britain in 8 years. British police are not routinely armed. Meanwhile, former tax office data analyst Louis de Souza claimed diminished responsibility but was convicted of murder after a 3-week trial. A jury decided he pulled the weapon's trigger deliberately while handcuffed and did not suffer an autistic episode. In the meantime, the Israeli army acknowledged it failed to prevent an attack by Jewish settlers on a Palestinian village in the occupied West Bank, during which one villager was killed. According to reports, revenge attacks on Tamas, Aya, and other villages followed the killing of 4 Israelis by Palestinian gunmen on Tuesday, which militant group Hamas said was in response to an Israeli army raid on Jenin refugee camp, which killed 6 Palestinians. Meanwhile, army spokesman Daniel Hagari said troops had tried to prevent Israelis from attacking Tamas, Aya, but that they were stretched too thin. Meanwhile, Mike Pence within the week demanded that every U.S. Republican presidential hopeful back a nationwide abortion ban at 15 weeks or earlier as he sought to outflank Donald Trump on an issue his former boss has been accused of funding. Touting his pro-life credential a year after the Supreme Court overturned the federally protected guarantee of abortion access, the ex-vice president threw down the gauntlet to his rivals. Meanwhile, Pence did not mention the former president by name, but his address was a pointed challenge to Trump, who views the religious right as key to his 2016 presidential win and future White House ambitions. The former president trolled conservatives when he appointed 3 justices to the Supreme Court during a single term in office, who subsequently voted to strike down Roe v. Wade, the decades-old precedent guaranteeing federal abortion protections. And to wrap up our foreign news stories, Moscow said the chief of the rebel Wagner mercenary force will leave Russia and will not face charges after calling off his troops advanced on Saturday, easing Russia's most serious security crisis in decades. The feud between Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin and Russia's military brass came to a violent head in the past day, with his forces capturing a key army headquarters in southern Russia and then heading north to threaten the capital. Reports say within hours of Prigozhin's about-face, the Kremlin announced he would leave for Belarus and Russia would not prosecute either him or the group's members. It was a dramatic day of development within President Vladimir Putin warning against civil war and Moscow telling locals to stay off the streets, while Kyiv celebrated the chaos engulfing its enemies. Meanwhile, the regional governor said early today Wagner had pulled fighters and equipment from Rostov on Don, where they had seized the military headquarters. Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko said he had negotiated a truce with Prigozhin, drawing thanks from Moscow. Meanwhile, the United Nations accused Russia of killing 136 children in 2022 during its war on aggression against Ukraine. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said he was horrified by the killings. The report also stated that 80 children were killed by Ukrainian forces. The Russian army was included on a UN list of organizations that committed serious offenses against children in armed conflict. According to the UN list, a total of 477 children were killed in Ukraine last year, with 136 attributed to Russian forces and allies and 80 to Ukrainian troops. Reports say for the remaining victims, neither of the two warring parties can be blamed with certainty. The UN stressed that there was a large number of unreported cases because of the strict guidelines for verifying such cases. And still to come in the news. Administration says disruption threatening Nigeria's oil production. To stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. We move to health, where the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration Control, NAFDAC, has said all noodles made in Nigeria are safe for consumption. The Director General NAFDAC, Mojisola Adeyeye, made this known during a press briefing in Lagos to present the outcome of the investigation into the presence of ethylene oxide or its metabolite in noodles and their seasonings. According to her, ethylene oxide or its derivative was not found in any of the instant noodles produced in Nigeria and their seasonings. Recall that the investigation followed the alert raised by the Ministries of Health in Malaysia and Taiwan over the presence of ethylene oxide, a compound associated with an increased risk of cancer in the Indomie instant noodles special chicken flavor. Still in health, Governor Inuwa Yahaya of Gombe State has assented to the Drugs and Medical Consumables Management Agency and Public Wholesale Company Bill. This is contained in a statement released in Gombe by the Director General, Press Affairs, Government House, Ismaila Misili. He revealed that the bill was passed by the State House of Assembly on May 18, 2023. Misili explained that based on the governor's assent, the Gombe State Drugs and Medical Consumables Management Agency has been established in the state. According to him, the bill will ensure qualitative, affordable and accessible drugs and other medical consumables in the state. We move to sports, where thousands of football fans have marched over the Sydney Harbour Bridge to mark 25 days before the Women's World Cup starts in Australia and New Zealand. Football's governing body FIFA estimated around 4,000 brave chilly temperatures to take part in the early morning event on the famed bridge, which was temporarily closed to traffic. Co-hosts Australia and New Zealand kicked off the 32-team tournament on July 20th when the Matildas played Ireland in Sydney and the Football Ferns faced Norway in Auckland. FIFA says more than 1 million tickets have been sold for the 64 games in 9 host cities, surpassing total sales for the 2019 World Cup in France. FIFA official Rhiannon Martin has said she expected this year's tournament would be a milestone for women's football in Australia. Away from that, Nigerian Football Federation President Ibrahim Gusau has said the future of Super Eagles coach Joseph Isiro is in the hands of the country's football fans. Football fans have criticized the Portuguese for having poor technical knowledge. The NFF president admitted that the country's top football organization had previously attempted to hire both foreign and domestic coaches. Finally, in sports, League One champions Paris Saint-Germain are prepared to offer as much as £150 million to sign Nigerian striker Victor Osimhen from Napoli this summer. The Nigerian international is one of the hottest properties on the transfer market this summer after leading Napoli to the 2022-2023 Serie A title with a league-high 26 goals last season. Osimhen also provided 5 assists and netted 5 times in the Champions League to take his total for Napoli to 59 goals and 14 assists from 101 matches since joining from Lille in 2020. The 24-year-old now only has 2 years left on his contract, but President Aurelio De Laurentiis previously insisted that the Italian champions had no reason to sell him this summer. However, the Napoli chief has now confessed that Osimhen could depart if any interested party makes an offer that they cannot refuse, and the asking price is thought to be not of £100 million. Manchester United and Chelsea have been persistently linked with moves for Osimhen this summer, but the Blues have already signed Christopher Nkunku from RB Leipzig and are also finalizing a deal for Villarreal's Nicolas Jackson. On our entertainment news, Audiomag has announced award-winning Nigerian singer Burna Boy as the first African artist to hit 1 billion streams on its platform. According to Audiomag, the milestone reflects the immense popularity of Burna Boy as an internationally acclaimed musician and demonstrates the power and reach of the musical platform to connect artists with a global audience. Meanwhile, Burna Boy expressed his gratitude to his fans and Audiomag, saying he is grateful to everyone who has streamed and supported his music. Still on entertainment, data from the Cinema Exhibitors Association of Nigeria shows that Transformers Rise of the Beast is still on top with 54 million naira. Directed by Stephen Keppel Jr., the 7th installment in Paramount's action franchise follows Optimus Prime and the Autobots as they attempt to take out a threat that is capable of destroying the entire planet. Recall that the sci-fi movie, which stars Anthony Ramos and Dominic Fishback, opened at the Nigerian box office with 35 million naira on June 9, 2023. Still on entertainment, authorities say human remains were found on Saturday in Southern California, near the area where investigators have been searching for missing British actor Julian Sands. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department said in a news release that civilian hikers contacted the Fontana Sheriff Station after they discovered human remains in the Mount Badley Wilderness. Investigators say positive identification of the remains should be completed next week. Recall that the search for Sands, who has not been seen since going hiking in the San Gabriel Mountains northeast of Los Angeles in January, was focused on the Mount Badley area after investigators traced pings from his cell phone to that location. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You've been watching Spectrum TV News, a recap of major stories within the week. I am Francis Oyima, Edit. Many thanks for being there and do enjoy the rest of your day.